Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Priyanjana Acharya, consultant ENT in Apollo Cradle, Sector 14, Gurgaon. So today I'm going to talk about recurrent causes of cough and cold and the ear problems that we are facing, mostly the ear pain cases that have come to me in the last month. The maximum cases that came to me for ear pain were because of fungal infections in the ear. The first thing that comes to our mind when there's a pain in the ear is using a earbud or anything that is available to us. And we generally insert it in the ear and start cleaning the ear with the hope that, the pain will settle down or probably the itching, if it's there, it will go down. But what happens, we add to our problem. The moment we scratch the ear, we cause an inflammation in the ear. The commensal bacteria, when they are present, they enter the skin, the cracks of the skin, and they can cause an inflammation then and there. It leads to a condition called otitis externa. And no matter how many painkillers you have after that, until unless you visit an ENT specialist and the specialist packs your ear with an adequate ointment, the pain does not settle down. So one thing is that. The other, if there is wax in the ear which is irritating you, that is pushed inside. Okay, because you're doing it blindly. And the most important, if there is fungus inside the ear, what you do is that you push the fungus inside. Further, you cause an inflammation in the skin the moment you are scratching the skin. So the fungus gets a good path of entry into the skin itself. So maximum cases of ear pain that came to me in the last month were because of otomycosis, that is fungal infection of the ear. See, when there is a fungal infection or you feel there is any pain in the ear, the first thing that you should do is do not try to manipulate the ear. The first thing is stop intervening in the functioning of the ear. Try to consult a specialist. During that time, keep the ear absolutely dry. Do not allow even a single drop of water in the ear. Most patients, either they try to flush the ear with water or apply oil in the ear. The most common is mustard oil. So please do not do that. These days we do not advise you to use mustard oil in the ear. So and then the next thing is that the pain increases or there's any discomfort in the ear, please come to the ENT specialist. What we do is that we do not, these days we do not go for a syringing of the ear, we go for a vacuum cleaning of the ear. So the most important thing is a vacuum clean, because the fungus along with the debris needs to be removed. The debris and the fungus, they settle in the external ear canal and they need to be removed. So that is one thing that a specialist does. And the other thing that we do is that we pack your ear, because there is if there is otitis externa, if there is a swelling in the ear, we need to pack the ear. If there is plain simple fungus, we need to give you antifungal ear drops. So one thing is otomycosis. The next common thing that people came to me for were ear discharge. See, if there is a hole in the ear or there is a perforation in the ear, generally there is no pain. A perforation itself, plain simple perforation itself, is not a cause of pain in the ear. So a perforation pains only when there is infection in the ear, when there is some discharge coming in, or when you are having a cough or a cold. That indicates that your eustachian tube is blocked, there is inadequate aeration, and probably after a few days you will develop a discharge from the ear. So whenever you have such cases, whenever you feel that you've had a hole in the ear, living with it, and suddenly it started paining, do not blame the hole. It is probably either there has been some water which has entered the ear, or you are having some cold and cough, or you have manipulated the ear, that there's this problem that has been caused. So these are a few cases that came to me last month. Other than that, one very common problem, especially in old age, is referred pain. See, the first thing that we should, look towards is this temporomandibular joint pain, which kind of radiates to to the ear, and people generally complain of an internal pain in the ear. The TM joint has to be examined, and we need to give you proper muscle relaxants, and of course you need to avoid having chewy food. So this is necessary. Other than that, the last season or the last month, probably it was a case of otomycosis only. majority cases of otomycosis. Second, coming to causes of recurrent cough and cold, which is one of the most common causes, beginning with the change in season, and it is there till now. So, first of all, the most common cause is non-infective cough. People come to us for this irritating cough, which is almost always present, especially when the patient lies down or when he or she is talking. So this irritating cough, this dry cough, tends to cause more of irritability issues, or sometimes the patient also thinks that it is because of a disease or any problem in the throat or the chest. So generally, us as ENTs, we are not the first preference. Patients first go to pulmonologists or to any other chest specialists, and then they visit us, because the chest specialist does a CT scan or any other investigation of the chest, and he or she rules out any problem in the chest. So the first thing that should come to your mind when you are having an irritating cough, especially with a change in season, is that you should be visiting an ENT specialist. And us as ENT specialists, we should be ruling out any cause in the nose. The first filter of the body needs to be examined, because the most important cause of this irritating cough is generally in the anatomy of the nose or the sinuses. So probably your nose and your sinuses are not functioning properly, because of which your throat is getting affected. Why the throat? Because once the nose does not function properly, you start breathing through the mouth. And the moment the mouth starts getting activated, the mouth is not a filter. So it does not have any protective function of the nose. It neither does it warm the air, nor does it filter the air, nor does it moisturize. So these three things are completely absent when the mouth is breathing, especially at night. So what happens? There's dry air which enters your chest. The chest, of course, does not like this dry air, which is not processed by the nose, and then this chest starts reacting. The bronchioles, sometimes they get constricted. You might have attacks of breathlessness or wheezing, or you might feel there's lack of oxygen. You might become tired, coughing. That's because the chest is angry and irritated. So what happens? We go to a chest specialist first. So that is one mistake that most of the patients commit, because once they are here with us, they are with their scans, and they have already gotten, massive tests done just to rule out any problem in the chest. So the first thing that should come to your mind when there's an irritating cough is you should always rule out a problem in the nose. Okay. So there's a question: due to weather change, if you feel pain in the ear, then which precaution should be taken? See, if you're already feeling pain in the ear due to weather change, that could be a sign that probably your nose is not working properly. So start taking care of the nose. Start taking a bit of steam. Do not close your nose and start blowing the air into your ears, which people do often. Do not do that. And do not start cleaning your ears. You can start with a bit of steam. You can take an anti-allergic if you want. Other than that, Mr. Sanjeev, you asked that question. Other than that, do not do anything extra. If you feel the pain is persisting, please come to us. We'll deal with it. But if it is a recurrent thing that you are having it with every change in weather, then you should ideally consult an ENT specialist. Whether it needs to be managed just with medicines and exercises, steam, that he or she will tell you. Other than that, that could be a problem in the ear per se, because a weather change might just be enhancing the eustachian tube blockage. It can lead to a problem of fluid accumulation in the ear, which needs to be treated with medicines as well. Just plain simple steam at that time does not help. Okay, so for recurrent cough that I was coming to, yes, most of the cases are non-infective. So in that case, leaving aside the chest, we should always concentrate on the nose. Certain things like a deviated nasal septum needs to be ruled out. Most of the cases are of hypertrophic turbinates, which generally, patients come to us and tell us that, there's something growing inside the nose. That is not actually any growth in the nose. Those are your turbinates, which are normal anatomy, and they get hypertrophied. Hypertrophied in the sense they enlarge in size. Now they too have their protective function, but once they are doing that function, they are closing and obstructing your nose. So probably in the day you will not realize that, but once you are lying down, your mouth starts taking over the function of the nose. It might be that one of the nostrils is working, the other is blocked. So the nostril that works fine, during the day you're okay, you're somehow compensating, you're fine. But the moment you're lying down, the other nostril too gets blocked, or probably your mouth breathing starts getting more active at night, and then it's the dry air which starts taking over, irritating the chest. Another thing that we need to rule out as ENT specialists in such cases is gastroesophageal reflux disease. That is another thing which is quite common. In this COVID era, I have seen that, people having too much of kara and, too much of herbs and ginger and garlic and whatnot, too much of milk with turmeric. I mean, even the timing of these things should be changed. I'm not going to really argue about the efficacy of these things because I haven't tried on myself. But I don't think these things will really protect you from COVID. Probably they will, of course, increase your immunity, but immunity can also be increased by normal, a balanced diet, simple, disciplined lifestyle, and a healthy routine along with exercises. So, the more you consume kara, you will not believe how many cases, the moment the lockdown was over and I started coming to the hospital, there were so many cases of an irritation in the throat or a pain in the throat coming to me. And they were almost all of them, had this intense habit of having kara. The whole family was consuming kara. Probably there were a few people who could, who went away without any problems, but there were a significant handful of people who came to me saying that, in this COVID era, there is this throat irritation that has developed, and I'm taking kara and this whatever medicines they were taking on their own. So, a gastroesophageal reflux disease, the moment you are lying down, there's a bit of acid. Even a drop of acid is good enough to come into the throat and irritate the throat. In the long run, this acid keeps on causing a swelling in the throat. So it is not just your food pipe that is affected, it is the entire throat, the vocal cords, the chest, everything feels irritated. There are some people who do not realize this because there are some who come and tell us that we don't have any acidity problems. See, a gastroesophageal reflux disease does not have to, necessarily make you feel that you have acidity or you have bloating. There will be people who will still complain of acidity and bloating, which are common symptoms. But, reflux can also just give you symptoms in the throat. It might be a heartburn, might not be a heartburn. It might also result in a change in voice because the vocal cords are being affected. So the more you talk, especially professionals like singers or teachers, they tend to be affected more. So that also is one of the most common causes of a recurrent cough. Another thing is that when there's a cold, a recurrent cold, uh, that can also culminate into a earache, like Mr. Sanjeev asked. Whenever there's a weather change, he develops a pain in the ear. So if there is a pain in the ear with every weather change, you should look at the nose. You should rule out problems in the nose. You should rule out problems in the throat. Okay, so problems in the throat because the eustachian tubes open just behind the tonsils, and it is these eustachian tubes, which communicate with the throat, providing air into the ears. So whenever these tubes are blocked, whether the cause is a problem in the tonsil, just an enlargement, or just an infection in the tonsil, it is good enough to cause a blockage of the tubes, causing a recurrent pain in the ears. The other cause tonsils might just be suffering. They might not be the exact cause of this ear pain. The pain may be because of a recurrent post nasal drip, which could be infected every seasonal change, every weather change. And this postnasal drip could result from a deviated nasal septum or a problem in your sinuses. Another question that I have, a famous question, from all the patients. Ma'am, how come I never had this problem a few months back or a few years back? How come now? See, you are living with your deviated nasal septum from 18 years of age. 18 years, after 18 years, 22 years, your nasal anatomy does not change. Like the way the normal bony anatomy of our body does not change, so the nasal anatomy does not change. But what happens all these years? Your body tries to adjust, your body tries to compromise, compensate. But generally, we have symptoms of a deviated nasal septum from 25 to 35 years of age, patients generally present to us. So, there comes a time when the body does not compensate anymore. It starts showing signs and symptoms. One of the most important symptoms is nasal blockage, which is very common. The next could be a persistent postnasal drip, because you have a deviated nasal septum which has led to persistent adenoids, which were supposed to uh, you know reduce in size by 8 to 9 years of age, but since they did not get enough air, they could never regress in size, so they have persisted. Secondly, this kind of deviated nasal septum might also lead to a problem in your sinuses. So once, if it is good enough, if it is bad enough to cause a problem in the sinuses, that means it is blocking the opening of the sinuses, causing a recurrent accumulation of mucus in the sinuses, gradually leading to a thickening of the lining of the sinuses. Generally, it is the first sinus that is affected. Mostly, in most cases, it is either the maxillary sinuses or the ethmoids. The sinuses have a kind of the drainage is a common area, the infundibulum that we call it, the doctors call it. So this common space, once one of the sinuses get affected, so it's like a traffic jam. One after the other sinuses also start getting affected. So it leads to a persistent headache, a post-nasal drip, a heaviness on that side, and of course other symptoms like patient might complain of snoring or increase in weight because of lethargy, lack of exercise, because they don't feel that zeal to exercise. So us as doctors, it's our duty to look at the nose first. Of course, when there are patients coming to us, telling us that, oh, we have tonsils and tonsils are, we need to remove the tonsils. Sometimes we tend to, as doctors, we tend to overlook the nose. But in such cases as well, we should look at the nose and try to find out whether the tonsils themselves are the cause of the problem, or there is something superior and higher above which is causing the recurrent problem. So these are the few cases of recurrent cough and cold. And of course, another thing that I have noticed in this COVID era is, people are becoming conscious about their health, but there is a lack of zeal to exercise. Some people, most of them, come and tell us that, "Oh, ma'am, we can't exercise right now because we cannot go out." I mean, you don't literally need to go out. You can just be home and continue your exercises. For the nose, you don't need to do much. Just do a bit of, anything, a bit of aerobics, cardio, 10-15 minutes, good 10-15 minutes, and then you just do a bit of deep breathing exercises. That's all that you need to do. And another thing is that, see, there is a reason that we as ENTs, as ENT doctors, we always tend to examine the nose, the throat, and the ears together. Even if you're coming to me for a fungal infection in the ear, it is my duty to examine the nose, the throat, because we should know that we are not missing out on anything. Something that is causing a regular blockage of the tube, causing you to always tube of the ears, the eustachian tubes, causing you to always scratch the ear and leading to an accumulation of the dead skin, and finally the fungus. So these kind of things need to be taken care of by the ENT specialists, but you as patients, as laymen also, shouldn't be taking everything into your hands. there's a saying that you should not venture into areas where you do not have proper vision. That is the first thing that we are taught in our medical school or our surgical schools, where we are told that unless you have a proper field of surgery, do not venture into that area. So it applies to our regular lives, our day-to-day lives, and to us as non-medicos, as normal patients, that we should not venture into areas where we cannot see. So one of the most important things is we should not venture into our ears just by ourselves. Any problem in the ear, come to us, we will deal with it, we will give you a proper solution, we will give you a proper answer as to why you are having that problem. Okay, so I think we are done. Any questions that we have? So I just have Mr. Sanjeev's question, which I have already answered.